Insane NFL draft moments of the modern era. What if I told you the NFL draft has had moments so insane, you'd swear it was all scripted? Picture this: top picks, hyped as future Hall of Famers, completely flop, while unheard of players rise to superstardom. Trades that make no sense, decisions that leave everyone stunned. That is a world where logic gets tossed out the window. Get ready, because these jaw-dropping moments will shock you to your core and make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the NFL draft. Let's jump in. The gas mask bombshell. Laremy Tunsil, 2016. Let's return to 2016. Laremy Tunsil. Ole Miss's powerful left tackle was the topic of the NFL draft. He was the unanimous number one choice, and everyone believed he was bound for greatness. But only minutes before the draft, everything went wrong. Tunsil's Twitter account featured a disturbing video of him consuming marijuana through a gas mask bong. Yeah, you heard that right. Live on TV just as the draft was about to begin. The video created complete chaos. Teams preparing to select Tunsil at number 1 were driven into a frenzy. Rumors of failed drug tests and character flaws spread quickly, and his stock price fell. By the end of the night, Tunsil had dropped to the 13th pick when the Miami Dolphins took a gamble on him. That single tweet upended the manuscript, leaving experts struggling to make sense of it. The slip cost Tunsil millions in guaranteed money. But here's the twist: he refused to let the incident define him. Tunsil disproved the critics in Miami and Houston. He became a Pro Bowl left tackle and even made the All-Pro team, demonstrating that despite a chaotic draft night, his potential was always there. The vanishing draft pick. Vikings forget. 2003. Let's discuss one of the strangest events in NFL draft history: the Minnesota Vikings 2003 gaffe. The Vikings held the 7th pick and were considering trading down, but here's the kicker: time ran out on them. The clock struck 0, and before Minnesota could act, the Jaguars jumped in and selected quarterback Byron Leftwich at number 7. The Panthers then selected tackle Jordan Gross at number 8. The Vikings were forced to scramble before submitting their 9th round pick, defensive tackle Kevin Williams. So what happened? It was a huge tangle of papers. Minnesota had agreed to a deal, but they submitted it at the last possible second. The league needed to move on and give the next clubs their picks. It's widely regarded as one of the most memorable draft moments. But here's the twist: despite the turmoil, Kevin Williams went on to become a 6-time Pro Bowler and 5-time All-Pro for the Minnesota Vikings. So while Minnesota may have forgotten their pick, Williams became the defense's anchor for years. Talk about a draft day tragedy turned triumph. Quarterback swap drama. Eli Manning and Philip Rivers, 2004. The real drama of the NFL draft can sometimes be found in swaps rather than bloopers. Take the 2004 draft, for example. It was insane. The San Diego Chargers held the first choice, while the New York Giants were 4th. But what happened next was completely strange. Eli Manning, the consensus number 1 quarterback, made it plain he did not want to play for the Chargers. He preferred New York. But San Diego chose him anyway, which resulted in this embarrassing moment. Manning standing there with the Chargers jersey and a terrible grin, plainly unhappy with the circumstances. But this is where things get crazy. Shortly after that, the Giants selected Philip Rivers at number 4. Then, hours later, we received the shocking news: a massive deal. Eli Manning moved to New York in exchange for Rivers and many draft selections. Now, what about a franchise QB swap on draft day? It is almost unheard of in NFL history. But here's the twist: both teams won. Rivers emerged as one of the best quarterbacks in Chargers history, while Manning, well, he guided the Giants to 2 Super Bowl championships. Both are Hall of Famers, making this one of the few everybody wins stories from draft day pandemonium. Agony in the green room. Aaron Rodgers, 2005. Imagine this: draft night, a room packed with nervous rookies in sharp suits, waiting for their names to be called. Aaron Rodgers, Cal's highly touted quarterback, was in the green room in 2005, smiling broadly. But by the end of the night, he remained the last man standing. Rodgers was largely expected to be the first choice, but the 49ers surprised everyone by picking Alex Smith. 22 other players were chosen one by one, with Rodgers remaining unpicked. The cameras kept zooming in on his face. capturing the building anxiety as the minutes passed. Finally, the Packers selected him at number 24, but the hours of anticipation felt like an eternity. It was unmistakably a stomach punch. However, in retrospect, that agonizing wait just added to the drama of what would become one of the NFL's most memorable careers. Rodgers went on to win Super Bowl 45 and several MVP awards, and the rest, as they say, is history. Unexpected tears. Cedric Benson's draft day, 2005. Let's go back to the 2005 NFL Draft, when things got heated for all the wrong reasons. Cedric Benson, Texas's running back, had every reason to smile. Let's stick with the 2005 NFL Draft, when things got heated for all the wrong reasons. Cedric Benson, Texas's running back, had every reason to smile. He was selected 4th overall, which is considered a high pick. However, when the Chicago Bears called his name, supporters saw tears rather than delight, and not the happy sort. Benson wasn't crying because he was overwhelmed with gratitude, he was actually upset. His agents had already informed Chicago that he did not want to play there, but the Bears did not care. So there he was, live on TV, wiping away tears of frustration, visibly shaken. Things didn't improve much in Chicago. He never found his rhythm, struggled to integrate into the offense, and was finally dismissed in 2008 due to some off-field concerns. But here's the twist. Cincinnati gave him a second opportunity, and he delivered. Benson went on to have 3 consecutive 1,000-yard rushing seasons with the Bengals, demonstrating that he still had plenty of game left. What began as one of the most unpleasant draft moments became the first chapter in an unexpected redemption story. The Mario Williams bombshell, 2006. Let's talk about one of the most bizarre draft surprises ever. The 2006 NFL Draft. Everyone and their grandmother expected the Houston Texans to draft either Reggie Bush, the electrifying Heisman-winning running back, or hometown favorite Vince Young, Texas's famous quarterback. But nah, Houston had different intentions. With the overall first pick, they surprised the football world by selecting Mario Williams, a defensive end from North Carolina State. Fans were asking, wait, who? Nothing against Williams, but he wasn't the headline-grabbing name that many expected. It reminded me of the game, one of these things is not like the others. But here's the thing, Houston's risk paid off. Williams developed into a beast on the field, earning several All-Pro honors and becoming an integral element of their defense. Even though it raised eyebrows at the time, that selection turned out to be one of the more daring and wise choices of the draft. Buffalo's two-step trade for Josh Allen, 2018. Let's go back to the 2018 NFL Draft, when the Buffalo Bills made 2 aggressive plays to land Josh Allen. At first, Buffalo was nowhere near the top 10. They chose outside the top 20, but they were not playing around. First, they moved up to the early teens. Then, just a little later, they surged again, this time all the way to the 7th overall pick. Why? Josh Allen, a quarterback from Wyoming, was chosen despite initial reservations. They passed on other names, including quarterback Josh Rosen, who lost several selections and even a player in the process. Many individuals wondered if it was worth it after all. Looking back, yes, definitely. Allen emerged as Buffalo's franchise quarterback, the team's face, and one of the league's most dynamic athletes. Risky? Yep. However, sometimes the gamble pays off. The Packers' favorite trick, drafting a QB again, 2020. Let's go back to the 2020 NFL Draft, and if it felt familiar, you weren't imagining it. The Green Bay Packers repeated their usual trick, choosing a quarterback when they already had a superb one. Back in 2005, they famously drafted Aaron Rodgers while Brett Favre was still the franchise's face. It sparked controversy at the time, and they ran it again 15 years later. This time, Rodgers was the elderly but still excellent quarterback. The Packers also moved up to get Jordan Love out of Utah State with the 26th overall pick. Fans were stunned. Analysts scratched their heads. Rodgers still had enough in the tank, and many expected the organization to eventually assist him out, perhaps with a new receiver or a powerful runner. But nah, they chose a player who would not be on the pitch for a time. To make things even messier, Rodgers allegedly had no idea what was coming. No notice, no phone call, just surprise. But not the nice sort. Naturally, things became tense. In 2023, Rodgers forced a trade and moved to New York, where Jordan Love took over the starter job. At the time, the move appeared daring, perhaps even risky. However, in typical Packers form, it mirrored the Favre-Rodgers changeover all over again. It's unclear whether it'll pay off in the long term, but one thing is certain: Green Bay understands how to stir the pot when it comes to quarterbacks. Atlanta's unexpected QB gamble, 2024. Let's discuss one of the most unexpected moments from the 2024 NFL Draft. The Atlanta Falcons had just backed up the Brinks truck for Kirk Cousins, offering him a $180 million contract to be their guy. The franchise QB is locked and loaded, correct? However, with the 8th overall pick, they selected Michael Penix Jr., another quarterback. Wait, what? Yep, only weeks after signing Cousins, the Falcons selected Penix in the first round. ESPN's Sam Monson even described it as one of the most shocking draft picks in NFL history. And no, it is not an exaggeration. Fans, analysts, and even opposing teams were left stunned. Why so much money on Cousins only to draft a potential replacement right away? The Falcons' management office stated that Penix was simply too good to pass up. Maybe they're thinking long-term, or they noticed something no one else did. In any case, it was a bold move that immediately sparked interest on social media and sports talk shows. But that is the NFL Draft for you. It combines tension, thriller, and soap opera elements. But for every great steal, there's a head-scratcher that makes fans wonder, what were they thinking? Some picks mature like good wine, while others serve as cautionary stories. Whether it's a disaster or a genius play, the draft's unpredictability is what makes it so exciting. And if history has taught us anything, we haven't seen the end of the drama. The NFL Draft isn't just a talent show, it's a wild roller coaster of chaos. So buckle up, because the next shocker is always one pick away.